Hello, Dr Bev here with yet another one of an appointment with the doctor. Today, the lovely, familiar, friendly face we're talking to is the one and only Eurovision sensation, Nicki French. Hi!
Hello, how are you doing, darling doctor?
I'm surprisingly warm today, I've got to be
It
honest.
is. No, it is. It is. And I don't think it's our age and our female thing. I think it is very, very stuffy today.
It's close. It's
Mm.
close. Well, thank you for joining me on the sofa.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for asking. I'm rather excited.
We have discovered something quite exciting on our little chat.
Go on.
We have the same curtains.
Yes.
We should have just put them back to back. People would have assumed we were in the same room.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I just wanted something that went with the paint colour that I chose, and that was. I'm not normally a floor-to-ceiling curtain person. That sounds weird. But I just thought, no, do you know what? I'm a big girl now. I need floor-to-ceiling curtains for the patio doors. So that's what I have.
Well, we're going to have a little chat. You and I go back a fair few years now.
Oh, just a
more
few.
than either of us want to accept.
Yeah. Was it? I was trying to work this out. Was it 2000 that I did my first Cardiff Mardi Gras? Was that the first Cardiff Mardi Gras?
It was 99 was the first one, so yeah, but I think you did the first one in 2000, yes.
I did the first one in 2000 after my Eurovision, and yeah, we've just stayed friends since, haven't we? And it's.
I met you before then.
Oh.
Yes, so I met you around Total Eclipse time.
95.
In 95, 96 I met you when you did a gig at a little place called the Red Dragon in Cardiff.
My favourite venue for many, 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 many years. I felt I'd really made it when I got the gigs at the Red Dragon. I mean, I loved it.
It was a horrible, nasty, little, sticky bar.
But it just worked.
Wasn't it? Lovely. It's now Marks and Spencer.
I know. I couldn't believe it. The first time I came to Cardiff on the train, and I think it may have been you, said to me, that's where the Red Dragon used to be. And I'm looking and I'm seeing Marks and Spencer's and I'm thinking, oh, no. Because it was always great getting to Cardiff and getting to Central Station, and there was the Red Dragon. It was such a good place to do.
Oh, yes.
And through the Red Dragon, I met John Springate because he was working at, was it the Tunnel Club?
Yes.
Was the other one. He was working there on the same night that I was doing the Dragon. And so we went to each other's gigs, and the guys that ran the Dragon had said, you two should meet, we think you should work together. And from that, I started doing demo tracks in John's studio in London. And then the rest is history. He got me involved with Total Eclipse of the Heart. He then got me involved 5 years later with the Eurovision song, Don't Play That Song Again. So yeah, it's in a way, it's thanks to the Red Dragon that any of it happened.
Well, let's start with Total Eclipse. Your cover version in, I think it was originally released in 94 and then re-released in 95.
Well, we did a sort of high energy version that was on a 12-inch disc that I used to sell at gigs and so on. And that was with the guys from Energize Records. So again, that's come full circle. And we did that. That was back in 1993. And it was the famous Pit Stop, who used to work on promotions for PWL, and then when Mike started up Love This Records, Pit Stop went and worked with him, and he passed our version of Total Eclipse to Mike and Matt and said, I think you might be interested in this. And yeah, they kept the backing vocals, but I redid the lead vocal. And it was first released in kind of October 94. And it sort of got to, I don't know, 60 something or whatever. And I thought, I've had an amazing time. I've worked with these absolute icons of recording. This was a dream come true. And then Mike phoned me in about early December time. And he said, the buzz on this song will not go down. So we are going to redo the beginning and we're going to re-release it at the beginning of January. And that's when it just went absolutely mad.
Well, it went top 5 in the UK.
Yeah.
It stayed in the charts for 3 months.
Even I didn't know that. That's amazing.
It sold in excess of 5 million around the world.
Yeah.
And it made number 1 in Japan, Canada, Spain, and Brazil. And I know you have a special affiliation with Brazil. We'll come back to that in a bit.
I really do.
But yes, all of a sudden, you were international.
It was just mad. It was mad. There was not a weekend or week where I wasn't flying somewhere to do gigs. It was wonderful. I mean, we saw such amazing places. You know, we saw Slovenia, and you know, I did eventually go to Australia and spent 6 weeks in the United States when it was climbing the charts there. It was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It was more than any dream I'd ever had. It was just fantastic.
Now, I gather there was a bit of a faux pas with the follow-up single, which is one of my favourite ones of yours.
It really is, isn't it? You always ask me to sing it.
Yeah, you did a cover version of the Carpenters' song "For All We Know," and it's a great version. And a dear friend of mine, Andy, who you met again through the Tunnel Club, and Minsky's, who passed away a couple of years ago, it was one of his all-time favourite songs. So that's all a treasure for me. But yeah, there was a bit of a faux pas with that, and it fell through the cracks, as it were.
It kind of killed, you know, you're only as good as your last song, and my last song was effectively For All We Know, because in the UK anyway, there was a problem with the barcoding on the CDs and the cassettes. They were cassettes back then. Someone had numbered it wrongly. So if you went into, say, Woolworths or Our Price or Tower Records or any of those things that have been and gone now, where normally they would scan it and it would come up, Nicki French, For All We Know, CD single, and it would log it with the people that did the chart numbers. Unfortunately, because the number was wrong, it just came up unknown, and the person behind the till would then just tap in CD sale. And so it lost so many. And I still have a fax that was sent from the company doing collecting all the figures, Millward Brown, they were called. I still have the fax that went between them and Mike Stock. And it starts with, "Sorry for shouting at you," from one or the other to the other. And it explains that basically Millward Brown admitted that it finally went in, I think it went in at 41 on its week of release. So it missed the top 40 by one song. But they admitted that actually all the sales that did happen, the genuine sales, it should have gone in about 15.
That's so
and as we all know, the first week of sale is nowadays the most important, or it was back then, and couldn't do anything about it. And Mike actually stood up for me like you wouldn't believe. With these people, he said, "You are ruining a lady's career here, because she should be in the charts doing Top of the Pops again. But obviously 41, you miss it." And so kind of that scuppered the big success in the UK. You know, it was fine everywhere else, but in the UK, which, you know, like it or not, you want to be a success in your own country. So it's kind of always been hampered by that, which is a shame.
Well, talking about the UK then, fast forward a couple of years, and all of a sudden the UK was very important to you, wasn't it? You represented the UK at Eurovision in the year 2000.
Oh, proudest moment of my life. So proud. I'd loved Eurovision since I was a little girl. And never thought I'd have the chance, but it was a dream of mine, you know. And I said in interviews, similarly to how an athlete's, you know, an athlete is so keen to be at the Olympics, kind of Eurovision was for a singer my Olympics. And it oh gosh, every memory was just fantastic from start to finish. It was just so good. And over in Stockholm, you know, we were right up there. People were singing our song. We just had a great time, you know. And when the votes didn't come in, you just felt like you'd let the country down. You really did. You felt like, oh my God, the Queen's going to kill me. But it was just so sensational and so special. And because of that, I think because I've always loved Eurovision anyway, although I was given advice by so many people, right, you've done it now, leave it alone, move on. I just couldn't. Yeah. And I'm glad I couldn't, because now I'm still so involved with everything to do with Eurovision. I co-host the London Eurovision Party, where all that year's acts come and showcase their song. And I have such a good relationship with the fans, I think. Anyway, I think I have. And I love it. I still love it so much.
Well, so the song, obviously, Don't Play That Song Again, was recently re-released in any formats?
In digital, yes. So you can now say, Alexa, play me Nicki French, Don't Play That Song Again, or play me a Eurovision song, and it will come up. It's, yeah, and it was all down to my agent, Matt, who I've been working with now for a few years, and he's so good. You know, I've never worked with such a great agent that he's bothered, you know. He's very, very professional, and he goes that extra mile with any gig that anybody gets from him. He does so much background for them, and makes it a very smooth experience, a very smooth plain sailing experience. And it was some months ago, I now know, it was well before Christmas, he thought about it and thought, you know, this has never been released digitally. So he started doing some background work on it, and went to RCA, who originally had the song, and they said, no, we don't own it anymore. So then he had to find out who did, and found out it was Sony, and just went through so many departments and so many people, and kind of, I guess, well, he said actually lockdown sort of helped in a way, because there were all these people who hadn't really got anything else to do, so they were keen to help him. Yeah. And just suddenly, in a couple of weeks, lots and lots of slots were filled in. The jigsaw came together, and yeah, he got it released. It's all down to him. He did an amazing job on that.
I'm glad I unplugged my Alexa, because I should have started playing it whilst we were recording. I learned that last week. I was having a conversation with somebody, and they said the Alexa word, and she started. I was like, thank you for that.
Sorry about that.
No, not at all. The thing is, if we played it on here, I'd have owed you commission.
I'd have gratifyingly taken it.
No, we have another couple of things in common, and I'd like to talk about this next one, if I may. You've done a couple of television specials. Two of them were in 2003. So you did a little show called The Weakest Link.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know if viewers at home may or may not know this, but somebody else.
And so did you.
Oh, yes. Out of quick, you know, how well did you do, Nicki?
I won. How did you do, Doctor?
Oh, I won. I did, and a little later, I'm doing an interview with a lovely actress called Chizia Kadulu.
Yes.
Who has also won The Weakest.
Oh, fabulous! Oh.
So I think we've read with the strongest thing. So yeah, tell me about The Weakest Link, because I know it was a Eurovision special, but You weren't supposed to do it, were you?
No, I was the reserve. And then I'd been away for the weekend at a friend's down in, I think it was down in Devon or something, for a birthday party. And, you know, back then, used to drink a fair bit. And I got back on the Sunday night and I thought, oh, thank goodness I'm not doing The Weakest Link tomorrow, because they were filming it on the Monday. I thought, thank goodness I'm not needed. I haven't heard a word. I feel, you know, I feel very sort of a little bit delicate. You know, I just really wasn't with it. And about 7 o'clock on the Monday morning, I got a phone call saying, Gina G has gone into labour 9 days early. You're on. And a car's coming to pick you up. And it was like, oh my God. And I was just a mess. But sort of just got my brain into gear, and I got there. And it was the first time I met Lynn Paul from the New Seekers, who became a very dear friend. She's a lovely, lovely, lovely lady. Katrina, obviously, we knew each other anyway, so we were happy to be there. Katie Boyle was there, and she was on the podium next to me. Mm-hmm. And at one point, when you have to give your person that you're voting off, it went, I think it was Sonia first, then Katie, then me, and Sonia said, you know, Katie, and Katie put up her card and went, Katie. And they had to stop filming. And they said, Katie, you're not allowed to vote for yourself. And she went, but I was terrible. I want to go. So, and all the way through, she kept saying, Nicki, could you help me with this? And there was one moment she said, Nicki, could you help me with my necklace? And then when she got voted off, she said, Nicki, would you help me down off the steps? She was a lovely, lovely lady. But they had to have a little conflab after, sort of between filming, to decide whether she could vote herself off or not. And they decided, yes, it's okay.
Well, she can do whatever it wants. You won £13,000 for a cancer charity, if I'm right.
Yeah, because it wasn't that long after losing my father to pancreatic cancer, and I just thought, yeah, this is what I want it to go to. So yeah, cancer research, and it was fabulous at the very end, because it was just Katrina and I. And when you have to do that little video clip,
yes, as
they're rolling the credits, she sat there and said, I'm really glad Nicki won, because, you know, she was raising for cancer research, and she'd lost her mother to it as well. And so, you know, we've all had experiences of losing dear loved people to cancer. And, you know, it's always the first thing I go to when I'm raising funds for anything, really.
Brilliant. 2003, you also did another special, but this time in America.
Oh, the disco ball.
Tell us about the disco ball. So, to my knowledge, you were the only British
artist that featured. They were going to ask Westlife, I think it was, but apparently a certain Mr. Cowell was causing so many problems that they just decided not to bother. They wanted Westlife to do a Bee Gees medley or something, but in the end someone else did it. That was amazing. Yeah, they flew me over there, and the roll call of artists was just mad. And it was so LA. You know, we got there for the evening filming, and there were all these stalls backstage in the green room area where these people were giving you freebies. So I came away with this, a pair of very expensive trainers, and there was this lovely bracelet that someone gave me, and all these things, you know. And there was Paula Abdul. They wanted her to have this other bracelet, and I'd got my eye on it, but she got it. And there was one bit in,
Gloria Gaynor.
Yeah, in rehearsals, I just finished my dress rehearsal and walked down this corridor, and she was coming along the other way, and we bashed into each other on the corner of the corridor. And sort of, I said, oh, sorry. And she just went, oh, I love how you sing that song. And I said, oh, thank you very much. And she just went, can I give you a hug? And she enveloped me in this huge bear hug. But it was a dream. It was amazing.
Great experience.
It really was.
So you've done a little bit of TV work there, and Australia. I remember watching. I wasn't there. I remember watching videos of you performing at Sydney Mardi Gras.
Yeah, that was the only time I've ever missed a flight, and it had to be to the other side of the world, didn't it?
But what a performance! There, it was massive.
That stage, I have never worked on such a huge stage. I got there because I'd missed the first flight because they changed my flight times, and I didn't realise that it was now 6 o'clock in the morning, not 6 o'clock in the evening. So they flew me the next day. I got there at about 5:30 in the afternoon, and they took me straight to rehearsals with jet lag and everything. Wow. And yeah, I had 35 dancers on stage with me, and trying to get from one end of the stage to the other, I was absolutely shattered. But it went so incredibly well. The area we were in had a capacity of 8,000, and apparently they had to close the doors because they had capacity. It was something that I don't think I'll ever experience again. It was just amazing.
Well, I think your performances with both Eurovision and Total Eclipse have endeared you to a certain community, shall we say. You and we bump into each other all the time during the year, normally at Pride events. Why is it important for you to come along and support the LGBTQ community?
Because they've supported me so much, you know. I mean, I was told when I very, very first started working in sort of like little gay pubs and clubs and so on in London. Sorry?
Like the Red Dragon.
Oh, see, to me, that was big. To me, that was a big place. But yeah, all those places, somewhat, you know, I was told very early on, oh, you know, they do love a belter. And, well, you know me, Foghorn French, you know, you don't get subtle from me.
No.
So they seemed to like what I did. And I loved the enthusiasm and the support that I got. And I guess I just started working sort of on the prides and things like that, and found I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved working in a gay club because I didn't get bothered. You know, you work in a straight place and, you know, you might get bothered by people. But in a gay place, they knew I was straight, and so all the men were interested in were my sparkly shoes. Yes. Couple of times women would try, but you know, I made it very clear, very straight, you know, very, very.
Thank you very much, but no.
I don't. What?
Thank you very much, but no. Yes,
thank you, but no. Yes. Well, back in those days as well, I would sort of say, "Oh, this is my husband," but
I'm glad
you know, that was a long time ago. But no, I just enjoyed it, and also the community seemed to like the sort of music I enjoyed singing. That was another big plus.
You work all over the UK at Pride events now. I've seen you at many ones, and you're always welcomed, and you're always welcome as well. You know, you've come along, performed with me at Cardiff several times, and what I particularly like is you normally show up with cake.
Exactly. I was going to say, I owe you a few carrot cakes, don't I?
Carrot cakes need to come my way. I'm waiting. It's fine.
I will do that. I will get them done. See, being in lockdown, I'm still baking like it's going out of fashion.
You can't get it to anybody.
No, I baked a fruitcake a few weeks ago, and I was making myself have some during the day because I was thinking, I don't want it to go to waste, but there's no one else to give it to. So I then I went to make some carrot cake. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And I had this idea of, instead of putting it in an 8-inch sandwich tin or whatever, do it in 2 loaf tins. So it works. A loaf, a sort of, a small carrot cake works for me, and I can give the other one to someone else. So I will send you some carrot cake.
Rumour has it freezes.
It does freeze. It does freeze.
We mentioned Brazil earlier on. Back a few years ago, I went to do a tour of Brazil, and I know how much you love that place.
I
Tell us a little bit about
absolutely love it. The Brazilians, there is a gentleness about them that it just hits me. The place, São Paulo, where I'm usually based, is, they won't mind me saying, is one of the ugliest cities you'll ever see. It's covered in graffiti, and it's really not a pretty city.
Mm-hmm.
But go a little bit out, and it's stunning. If you're in certain areas, because it's lots and lots of different little areas, and if you go to certain parts, there's a lot of parks and greenery, and it is beautiful. If you drive down to somewhere like Curitiba, which is about 6 hours drive, the scenery is so spectacular, you cannot imagine. It's beautiful. But it's just the people. I love going over there. I always feel a bit special because I go business class, and it's a long flight, and I get over there and I work with a live band, and that's so important. And I've known, Gino, who usually puts the band together for me and usually organises the gigs. He's the guitarist, and he was on my very, very first tour and has been ever since on all the tours. And I'm very close to his whole family now. His son, Bruno Martini, is now a top DJ and working all over the world. And his star is rising. So it's wonderful. And I just love it over there. Can't speak the language. I try the odd little thing, but if you try and speak foreign to someone, they think, oh, great, they can speak the language, and they come back at you. And you're like, no. I don't know what you said.
So you obviously like touring, and you've done a couple of other theatre tours as well. Annie, Menopause Musical Part 2, yes, which unfortunately has been halted. I will say that my tickets for the show have been rolled over to next year.
Fabulous.
I didn't get refunded. They've been rolled over for next year. So I'll see you in
Fantastic.
Do you enjoy doing the theatre?
Oh, so much. I mean, one thing which is very basic, but the older you get, and I'm not young anymore, but the older you get, the more you appreciate finishing at 10 o'clock rather than starting to get ready at 10 o'clock for a 1 o'clock show. But no, I love theatre. I've always found I get a thrill when I walk backstage in a theatre or any venue. I get a thrill, and I really do. And I love the discipline of theatre. With gigs, they're normally at weekends, so you can eat rubbish food and you can do stupid things all the way through the week, and then on a Friday, Saturday, whatever, you're working. And particularly at this time of year, normally you'd be doing prides every weekend. But with theatre, you would, you have to be disciplined. And I was enjoying it so much on Menopause. I'd done, as you say, I did the first show. I was part of the very, very first UK production in London with Sue Pollard and Sammy Hughes.
With Sue Pollard, haven't you? Annie was with Sue Pollard as well.
We did Annie. Well, it was Sue that got me the job on Annie. Because the producer said sort of, oh, Nicki French, well, she's just a pop singer. And it was Paul who went for lunch with him and said, oh, Nicki French, oh yes, she's a great team player. and he booked me off the back of her saying that.
You've also done a few pantomimes as well, haven't you?
I love my panto time. Oh, but now you see, I love playing the baddie. I was offered before this all went belly up, I was offered the possibility of a show, and they said, oh, it's Fairy Godmother. And I went, no, I'll hold out for baddie, thank you. I much prefer the baddie.
Bless you. I remember the first one I saw you in, I think was in Chipping Norton, and
Yes,
I came to see you in that one. And I said to you afterwards, you reminded me of Joan Sims in Carry On Up the Khyber, and you
I
said that's
remember.
exactly who I was pitching it at.
Yeah, and it was the biggest compliment you could have paid me. I loved that.
And I think then PM came along to see you there as well, didn't he?
Who did?
The then PM.
Yes, Mr. Cameron, David Cameron, because it was his territory. You know, that was his area as an MP, and on the day we were told, you know, the Camerons usually like to support the panto at Chippy, and on the day they did turn up, and they still had their older son Ivan at the time. And at half-time, guess the football fan, at the interval, the stage manager came round and said, look, Mr. Cameron would like to meet you all afterwards because they're enjoying the show. And we were told that quite often they had to leave quite early because Ivan, who was in a wheelchair and severely disabled, you know, if he made noise or wasn't sort of feeling comfortable, they would have to leave. Yes. But no, he wanted to meet us all. And at the very end, it was him with Ivan, just saying how much they'd enjoyed it. And we were one of the very few shows that was allowed to still throw sweets out to the audience. And I remember seeing him that day. He was in about the 6th row back or something. And he was just a dad. You know, he was jumping up to try and get these sweets for his little daughter who was next to him. And it was really nice to see, you know, whatever people think of certain politicians, that day he was a dad. He was a loving dad with his kids, and it was lovely.
You also did Santa Claus the musical with lovely Miss Jason.
With Miss Jason, and we shared a flat together. Oh, that was so enjoyable.
I love a bit of Miss Jason.
I love that man so much. We've become such good friends over the last few years. And when we were both cast in Santa Claus, we said, well, shall we share? And he always says when he's talking about me, because I would bake biscuits each morning. And he always says, I used to love waking up to the smell of her oaty biscuits. Her oaty crunch, I think he calls it. Nice. I used to wake up to the smell of her oaty crunch.
I'm afraid we've the ginger snap. I've got a couple of questions that have come in from the audience.
Uh-oh.
All right. So the first one is from somebody called PJ.
We know our PJ. Oh, lovely PJ. Dr. Eurovision.
He'd like to know what your favourite Eurovision memory was, and were there any divas, or did everybody actually get along?
Oh, yes, there were divas. But
I believe the phrase is "spill the tea."
No, generally, everybody got on, and there were no divas, as in sort of snotty divas who demanded. There were just a few that, you know, they just kept themselves to themselves a bit, or they were always glammed up, you know, even at 7 o'clock in the morning. There was the lady from Malta. I remember once getting into the lift, because everybody stayed in the same hotel, which was also the venue. And I remember once getting into the lift, and there she was, Claudette. And I got in the lift, and all I was aware of was glitter in her hair like you wouldn't believe. You know, it was, her hair just sparkled. And this was sort of 10 o'clock in the morning, and she had the biggest smile, and she was adorable. She was absolutely lovely. So yeah, she was a diva, but in the nice sense of the word. Nice. Sorry?
I said that's nice.
Yes. Oh, she really was. She always smiled. And actually, I think we got some points from Malta.
Eurovision does seem like a family.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. The Olsen brothers, who eventually won, um, they were absolutely lovely. You know, we had our Eurovision UK party at a little club called TikTok in the centre of Stockholm, and the next morning I went to breakfast, and one of the brothers of the Olsen brothers came up to me and went, "I'm so sorry we missed your party. I'm so sorry." And it, you know, they were lovely, lovely, lovely guys. No divishness about them at all.
Wonderful.
So generally, everybody got on. Everybody was fine. The funniest was Germany, Stefan Raab, who is a huge star there now. And on the night of the final, we were all in the green room. You finished your song and you went to the green room, so it gradually filled up. And everyone was going round to each other's tables saying, "Oh, could we have a photo with you, please?" Everybody was doing it. Stefan Raab came round to everyone's table and said, "You may have a photograph with me."
That sounds like something I would say. I appreciate
It
that.
was brilliant, but there was no sort of, you know, it was just the way he was. He was just such a lovely, confident, fun bloke. He was great. He was great fun.
Well, we've almost come to the end.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't half rabbit.
It's been great fun. I'm going to ask you the same questions I'm asking everybody at the end of these. So
Okay.
quick answers, please.
Oh no.
Question number 1. What's your all-time favourite Eurovision song?
Probably C, Go by Gigliola Cinquetti.
What's your least favourite Eurovision song?
Gosh. Oh, I don't know. I don't really have one. I really don't really have one. Oh gosh.
Pressure, the pressure.
Let's say Daz Sampson. Yeah. Teenage Life.
What's your favourite sound?
Do you know what I love at the moment is bird song. I go out into the garden or for a walk in the woods, and the birds are really loud at the moment, and I love that so much.
What's your least favourite sound?
Probably, no, we can't pay that.
Again, what job other than the one you currently have would you like to try?
Ooh, gosh. Probably running a little cafe.
Sweet.
Baking all the cakes, doing all the cakes.
In Chipping Norton. What's your favourite treat?
Goodness.
If
I
it's
guess wine and chocolate.
if it's not in the glass in front of you at the moment. I know you too well, French. And, my final question to you.
Okay.
If heaven exists, what would you like God to say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, I am very religious, so heaven exists. I would like him to say, you know, you've made mistakes, but I forgive you, and on the whole, you've not been too bad, so welcome and enter.
In my head, he'd look at you, smile and say, 12 points.
Oh, bless you. That is such a lovely thing to say.
Finally, you get to turn the tables and ask me a question.
Right, so we've alluded to the fact that we've worked together many times. Now, what we haven't alluded to the fact of is that we have often, when we've worked together, we do a duet, don't we?
We do.
So, my question to you
Which you did a cover version of with another singer. I'm not going to do for that.
Did that one together? We never did Wanted together. We did, and we can build this dream together, standing strong forever.
Nothing's gonna stop us now.
Fab. I love that one. So my question to you is, who would you, and I'm going to give you two chances, so you can have a male and a female. Who would you like to have sung a duet with, or would like to sing a duet with, living or dead? One male, one female. There you go.
My male singer, normally I would automatically jump at Josh Groban. However, in recent months, I've become quite a fan of Ben Platt, who I think is, they've got very similar voices. So something actually a little more classical, like a Josh Groban song. Female singer, oh, there are many, but you and I went to see a particular singer together.
Who has the same birthday as me?
She certainly does. It would have to be Dame Olivia Newton-John.
Oh, lovely. Another Eurovision connection.
Another Eurovision.
And what would the songs be? I didn't even think to ask that. What would the songs be?
Olivia, it would have to be... Actually, not one of the Grease ones. She did a song as a solo song called Shaking You. That's probably one of my favorite ones of hers. So I'll probably do that one with her. And with Josh Groban, February song. Those are my favorite.
Oh, lovely.
Nicki, thank you very much for taking the time to be with me today.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope I didn't rattle on too much.
Not at all. It's been an absolute delight. On behalf of all of us who've watched and enjoyed this, thank you very much. Do stay safe. And
thank you so much. And can I just say on behalf of others, thank you, Dr. Bev, for doing these shows, for doing these little chats. They're great. They're great for people to watch. And yeah, long may they continue. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for watching Dr. Bev's An Appointment With today, featuring Nicki French. I hope to see you again on the YouTube channel soon. Bye for now.
Bye.